Hello, this is Pastor Terry Goodman, and I want to welcome you to the Wesleyan Connection. This podcast is primarily for the clergy and laity of the Holston Annual Conference. Join with me now as I take a look around the Connection and share some of the things happening in the churches of our annual conference. At its very bedrock, our faith is about relationships, specifically our relationship with Jesus Christ. As ministers, I think we're called to build relationships not just within our church, but also within our community. Hi, this is Terry Goodman, and I want to welcome you to this episode of the Wesleyan Connection. I'm continuing our conversations with the district superintendent. And in this episode, we are sort of going to be talking about relationships, and we hear Gordon McBride talk about a ministry that he had at one of his churches and how relationships could be built out of that kind of community involvement, that kind of community outreach. So sit back and enjoy as we talk about relationships.
For 7 of the 9 years that I was at North Tazewell, and they're still doing it. They, started out with Thanksgiving community meeting. It's out of, one person said, well, why don't we share what we have with the community? Now, the intent was that we just share, give back to the community. It became a bi-monthly event. Mm-hmm. Now, some of the folks were in the church were always talking about, well, we haven't seen not one person start the church here. And of course, that was never our objective. It was just to meet the needs of the community. And in that area, from Bluefield to Richland, somewhere in those areas, someone was doing a community meal every week. Mm-hmm. So people were being fed, but on average, we did 120, at least 120 a month. The last Thanksgiving that I was there, we fed over 300 people for that Thanksgiving community meal. A lot of these folks went to church somewhere else, but they came together in fellowship. There were people that came in that they were in church, but at least it gave us an opportunity to talk with them, to share with them. I always had prayer requests, but I'll never forget there was one young man that came in, and he was, I didn't think he was scary. Some people thought he was scary, but he had a do-rag on, had all kinds of tattoos, and he's clean. He had decent clothes on, but he came up, and he just wanted to talk. He said, I'm living a life that I know I shouldn't. I know where I grew up and what my parents taught. I just need you to pray for me. And invited him to church. And he said, you wouldn't want me in church. I sure would. And I said, you and your friends and everybody. He said, my friends are scary. You think I'm scary? They're scary. And I said, I'm not afraid of scary. I said, because you know what? Jesus loved scary. I never seen the man again. But we had an opportunity to pray for him. And I pray that somewhere along the line that what we did there makes a difference in a lot of their lives. And so somewhere along the line, I hope that some of these folks that don't go to church because of what was done, it resonates with them, and a seed was planted, and it may have seemed like that seed hit on that hard or thorny ground. But I pray that the prayers that were prayed, the prayers that are still going up, will make that ground fallow enough that seed will take root and grow and they'll find their way to the kingdom. And I think that's for all of us.
That's success.
But the biggest thing is, how well do we know our community? And until we build relationships with our community, and until church members want to build a relationship with community, we're going to have what we have.
Yeah, you're going to hear me say it. I've said it before, and you'll probably hear it either Sunday or church conference. I'm not sure yet. Long gone are the days where we open our doors and people are going to flock to us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well,
That cannot be our evangelism plan.
You talked about the guy being scary, but the church is scary.
Oh, yeah.
The church is scary because we've missed
Absolutely.
what success is.
Yep.
Do y'all have the faith book that mostly people use it for choirs?
The faith we
Yes,
sing.
faith we sing, yes.
2,223. Well, know we are Christians by our love.
Right.
If we would practice that one song,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's basically 1 John chapter 4. If we'd practice that, we'd have success.
Yeah.
Because most of the people that I talk to that are in the 2001 or 21,000 rather, the main reason they don't go to church is because they don't see the reason for it. Because they see Christians as mean people, hateful people. And when you visit them in church, all they think is, well, they're just trying to get my money. Now, we need money. My givers are dying off faster than I can even start to replace them. But as long as we give the impression that we're just out trying to get people in for money, they're going to have the right idea about us. There's a young man at the Assembly of God that decided on his own he was going to start visiting. And he's visiting all over. Sometimes different people will go with him. The first thing he's asked, what church are you trying to get me to go to? Something along that question. And he tells them, I'm not. I just thought maybe you needed somebody to pray for you today.
Absolutely.
He's having tremendous success. Now, as far as I know, there's not a person that started going to the AG because of his visits. But he's prayed for dozens of people every week.
This is Pastor Goodman. Thanks for listening to this edition of the Wesleyan Connection. Be sure to check back often for more podcasts.